Good evening and welcome to the Cardfellas Podcast Show. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We usually cover, one set and we go into detail, but one night I was bored and started thinking about what are the worst sets of all time? And that's what we came up with for this week's show. And maybe not so much the worst sets of all time, but certainly the ugliest card designs. It's kind of like the ugly Christmas sweater show, but 3 months earlier. And that's what we're going to do tonight.
Yes, and the ugliest YouTube hosts on YouTube too. So a little self-deprecation, but
we're definitely in the running.
We're definitely in the running.
Sports card gentlemen, usually not super good looking. So
right.
I mean, we're right up there in the sports card world as far as looks go.
As Larry David would say, I'm an Uber 3, but for those Curb Your Enthusiasm fans. But yeah, when you brought this to my attention, I was like, yeah, let's do something different. And but we are live on Wednesday night, 10:30 on our YouTube channel. For those of you listening to us on the podcast, we did mention this last time that we are going to maybe bounce from night to night, day to day. We don't know really when we're going to be live, but hopefully you can get your content from us whichever way you want. And this one's going to be a fun one because I think there's a couple of sets in here that we might look at and have some agreements and disagreements. But again, we're looking at the aesthetics of the cards, the beauty of the cards during the junk wax era. Which ones are the ugliest? So this is not a worst, which set is the worst for cards. We are going strictly, we are being like two guys, like just saying, hot or not, right? Like this is weird. This is our version of hot or not. And the 8 sets we're going to talk about today are the knots. And so I'm going to go first because this is one of that's on my list. And this card this year of Donruss had a lot of potential. It was 1992, and the cards changed quite dramatically from the previous years of Donruss. I think Donruss had his best year in '87. That's just my opinion with the black border and the baseballs. I do like '86 as well. And then this was a really different design. It had the white border, very crisp lines. The things I don't care for, and the reason I put this on the list, was I don't like it when brands make their name as big as anything else. And right across the top, it says Donruss. And so there's no team logo. The city of the team is not mentioned. It just says Mariners. We're looking at a Ken Griffey Jr. card. I do like the photos. I don't care for the font on the name. A lot of these cards felt a little bit like, PowerPoint 101. Like we got these new fonts and we're going to put them here and they're just going to work. And it's like low level creative design. But for me, Chris, it was the Donruss across the top. For whatever reason, I just don't like that when the brand becomes kind of the I don't want to say the main attraction, but it really grabs your eye.
Yeah, they definitely try to make the brand the star here. And I think, I guess we'll give them a little bit of an out here in that Donruss definitely did change what they were doing in 1992. They always had that kind of real flimsy card stock. In 92, they went to a much thicker card stock. We actually don't have any photos of the back of the cards, but there was color on the back. It wasn't just two tones.
Yes.
They definitely put some effort into this. But yes, I agree with you that the design of the 1992 Donruss set is hideous. But I guess they tried to do something and just failed. But, at this time in cards, I think everyone was kind of chasing Upper Deck.
Yes.
So I think this is their attempt at making an Upper Deck card, and they kind of failed. And I agree with you. The font on the name of the player, the 92 Donruss set, is also just bad.
So let's go to the one. Let's go to one of yours. This is a classic set in my opinion.
Yeah,
But again, I'm in agreement with you. The 1988 score set is definitely on the list of ugliest cards.
certainly has to be a contender for one of the ugliest. But I also kind of have mixed emotions about this set. This was like I remember like being excited about opening these packs because it was something different that wasn't
Right.
clear and wasn't Tops, wasn't Donruss. This was something different. At this time, there was basically four brands of cards, and Score was the new kid on the block. The cards came in like those plastic bag, kind of like
They
garbage
did.
bag style packs. So it was a different thing. Full color and the card stock, even though the thing about these cards is the corners on all of them end up just jacked up. But the card stock definitely was different than what everybody else was putting cards on. We'll go take a little shot here at the back of the card. They actually had a photo on the back of the card, which was something that I guess I don't remember from any other set. So
No, not from 88. That's for sure.
yeah, photo on the back of the card, full color on the back of the card. And really the photography wasn't bad either. I think the big part with this is again just real simple design, not much to it. And the colors, this Barry Bonds card, the border is red. So the colors don't match up at all. Here's an Ozzie Smith card that's purple. The Don Mattingly card was purple. So, there was no real rhyme or reason to the colors on the border of the card. Photography was good, but just real basic, simple. Again, no logos or anything like that. Not even a team. We talked about that Donruss set showing, it said Mariners on it, didn't say Seattle, but Score didn't really even put the team on the front of the card. It's just, we're looking at this Ozzie Smith card. It's just Ozzie Smith and SS for shortstop. You got the Score logo and you got 3 stars that don't really mean anything. It's just a design element that they threw on it. So pretty simple, pretty ugly. But, if you're a kid that grew up in that era, the set does kind of hold a little bit of a spot in your heart just because it was something different. And I remember being really excited about opening these. And I think I actually bought some rack packs of this stuff a couple years ago when we jumped back into this, just again for nostalgia purposes. It's kind of fun to open.
I think the nostalgia, kind of nostalgia reasons behind all of these sets we're going to talk about. They're ugly, but they're ugly beautiful,
right?
And
they're
I
like
think
when you have an ugly kid.
Yeah.
You still love them.
You still love them. I will say this about the Score. If you want to go back to that one, just more sec. A lot of lines and arrows and stars. And like I think about the rookies, there was arrow, an arrow along the side. There's a box in the middle of this, so they kind of wasted their spare free space with just random things. And I think that's what it to me is just you could have used that better or left things off, like the white outline box around the picture. I don't think that's needed. The 3 stars, they don't mean anything. So I think those are the things that catch my eye. It's just like, do something better with that. So that's my last thought on the 88 Score. And you go ahead, Chris.
It's like they bought a clip art package. And they're like, well, we paid for this white square. Let's use it.
Exactly. I'm saying it's like clip art. It's like, all these like versions, like when you're creating a PowerPoint, all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I can do this and I can do that. It's like, you've just completely lost the whole focus of what we're talking about here. But 1988 was a really bad year for cards. I mean, not just like the designs, but just that year was really bad for just any type of rookie. But 1988 Fleer for me, for some reason, this design with like the red and blue stripes on the white, it just does not. I get a visceral reaction to it, and I can't explain it because it does have a lot of what I'm talking about here. It's got the name of the player, the position that they play, and it has a logo and a nice photo, but that red and blue striping, but it doesn't like, it's not a full stripe. It's just kind of a hashtag, or not a hashtag, but like a hyphen. It just, I don't know if it's Chris. I don't know if it's just this set is so putrid that I don't like, but it made me not like the design either.
I just think you hate America. I mean,
Oh yes, I knew you were going to say that. It's my obligation as American to like this set, but
right.
I just like no. It's just I just for some reason I just don't like it, and maybe it's because it has an Edgar Martinez rookie card in it, and that was like one of the first cards I got graded.
And I remember when you were excited about sending that in.
There it is. And he looks just upset that he's on this card. He's just sitting in the dugout, like contemplating, should I have come into the league a year earlier or a year later? But this is my rookie card. And they put these, red and blue hash marks all over my card. And the back of the card was ugly too. But it was like it had the same colors, but it was like a darker baby blue. It's just, I don't know. This card and this set, I think just does it to me because again, there wasn't much in the set and it's hard to explain, but I just don't like it.
One thing that I like about this set, and again, it's probably just me being weird, but I enjoy the Mark Grace, Damon Berryhill rookie because I like Mark Grace, and the two rookies on the card kind of takes me back to another era. But that card I really like. But the other thing about this set that I really remember is when you open the packs, for whatever reason, those cards had like this. I don't know. It almost felt like you were kind of rubbing like really fine grit sandpaper together.
Yes,
going through the cards, which was really like no other card that I've ever opened that feels
yes, that's a great point.
That's what you feel open them. So
and there was like
reason.
Almost like the paper, like the cuts from the side were still on there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the fresh cut of like the cards. And yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there.
And then the other thing that I'll say is, you kind of see like the gradient effect at the top of the card where you go from the border to the actual photo. But it almost feels like in a lot of these photos that kind of goes through. Like a lot of the photos in this set, we're going to talk about it when we get later on in the show too, but it's something that Fleer had going on for whatever reason. But the photos always seemed a little bit washed out as well.
Yes. And maybe that's it. It was just, there's something that was just, it lacked a little bit of that luster. Yep. It just felt like a dull card.
Yeah, for sure. Now here's one, 1991 Donruss, and they actually did us even better here. They produced two of the worst sets that I've ever seen, and that is Series 1 and Series 2. First time that Donruss did that. Griffey's primary card was in Series 1, and you can see these kind of pastel blue borders with kind of this groovy graphic on the side. This card actually, surprisingly enough, just sold for $50 as a PSA 10. Okay. So the Griffey card in this set's, still has relatively decent value and a high grade. But these blue borders are really, in my opinion, an eyesore. Diamond Kings, for those of you watching at home that only know modern cards, and Diamond Kings are a separate set back in the day. They put them right into the main set. And then there's a Ripken All-Star card. And then Series 2 was this really, it was even worse than the blue. The other thing about 1991 Donruss is, let's get into, I guess, more of the card stuff, is that there just really wasn't much for rookies in there. No Chipper Jones, no Mike Mussina, no Jeff Bagwell. But we talked about the card stock on that other Donruss set. This was the last year of that flimsy Donruss card stock that we saw throughout the 80s and into the early 90s.
Yes, that was the flimsy card stock. I don't mind these cards nearly as much because I think these cards remind me of what Donruss was when I was collecting in the heyday. So I feel like that is it. But I do agree with you that the pastel colors, just kind of like they're just little hash marks and, just random things put in the corners, and there's no rhyme or reason to why they're there, and don't really care for that. I think a clean green border or a clean blue border would have done these cards much more favor.
Yeah, this reminds you of what Donruss was. I would say it's kind of like going to see a friend at a funeral. You don't want to remember them on their deathbed, Matt. You want to remember them like in '87 when they were young and good looking, not in '91 when these cards were on their deathbed.
Right.
So let's not think about these ones. All right, next set. This one's yours. 95.
Yeah. So this is kind of on the edge of junk wax era, 1995 tops. And there's a couple reasons why I really dislike these cards. I don't like the soft edges around the photo. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, I'm going to try to explain this, but it's almost like it's like ripped out of a magazine and then pasted on a white piece of background. So you have a white border, but the edges aren't clean. They don't look great. And then the thing that drives me nuts about this is they put the name in like partially the picture, so you can barely read it. So you have to kind of move the card to read it, and it just it didn't sit well with me when I looked at, and when I got back into the hobby, I actually had a Ken Griffey Jr. card, and I was like, is this like a special card? No, it was just his base card because it was, it was hard to make out the name. I mean, obviously I know who Ken Griffey Jr. is, but some of the other guys, you don't have to read it. So we're looking at a Frank Thomas card, and it's Big Hurt swinging the stick, and it's got his name and then his position and then the team, Chicago White Sox, but no logo on the front, nothing like that to designate the White Sox team, and that's kind of what brought me to this, and it when we talked about doing this topic, this set came to me right away because of that Griffey card. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
I would say in this photo, it was probably before Frank was really good friends with Doug Flutie too. I mean, he's definitely really, really, really powerful in this picture. This was before he and Doug Flutie had a relationship together.
His low T or whatever. This is a great card of Barry Bonds. I love the pose, but again, if they would have shifted the card up or something, make the name a little bit more legible, I think these cards had potential for to be successful. If they would have made the edges on the pictures just a little bit more, not even a little bit more, just make them straight and move the picture up, I think these cards could have been really good, but they didn't.
How about the font there in the name too? You brought it up a little bit, but it's not quite Comic Sans, but it's pretty close.
It's not good at all. I do like this card. I mean, if you looked at this card and you have Manny Ramirez with the power step swing, the gold rookie cup, it would be a fantastic card. But then again, the font of his name and just the cutout, it just Topps ruined this one. I think Topps ruined this set with their design, unfortunately. But the pictures are great. The photography was great. It just doesn't work for me. But the one thing, and I didn't send you any of these pictures, but the back of the cards were really nice. They had color photos. They had a lot of information, a lot of stats. So if they would have, had any type of card or any type of design, this would have made this card 2 thumbs up. But the back is not good enough to make it a winner for me.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing. I was looking up a little information on this set this evening, and 1994 we had the baseball strike, and of course 1995 I would say it was definitely the tail end of the junk wax era. The hobby had definitely been cooling, and then with the strike it kind of finished it off. 1995 actually had the lowest print run that Topps made since the 1960s.
Okay, so this is technically not junk wax then.
It's technically not junk wax, even though it's still probably what we would say the junk wax era. But
we'll put this as like an honorable mention, like joining the party but not quite invited to the party. How about that?
Well, it's definitely ugly, so it definitely qualifies there. All right, let's move on. This
is ugly. Oh man,
This
Look
might
away,
be,
folks. Look
yeah,
away.
this might be the name or the mic drop moment of the show
It
here.
is.
1991 Fleer baseball probably has to be the number one worst card design of all time. The yellow cards stapled with bargain bins everywhere, and that's mostly because no one buys them. It's kind of a construction yellow, like what you would see on a truck out somewhere. The players' names are in black lettering. Again, just the team name, Mariners. No, we're looking at the Griffey card here. No team logo or anything on it. But I think the other thing here, and again, Fleer is really big on doing this, not real good high quality photos here. You look at this Ken Griffey Jr. card. We saw that Barry Bonds card in the 95 top set where you know that he just sent a Titanic blast into the water behind right field back there. This shot of Ken Griffey Jr. in the 91 Fleer card looks like he just popped up to the second baseman. I mean, he
right.
He looks frustrated and like, oh, that was gross. And
he's slamming his bat down as the
right.
next. Yeah.
So that's the Griffey card. And then we got the Bonds card. And again, it's kind of the tail end of his swing, but just the way he's looking at him, again, it almost looks like a pop-up, and he's kind of got a grimace on his face, and it's just not good. This one here is probably the most interesting, though. It's Tony Gwynn, and he's looking back at the umpire like he's about ready to argue a strike call. Maybe he just watched strike 3 go into the catcher's glove. How many times did Tony Gwynn do that in his career? I mean, so I guess you got to give credit to the Fleer photographers because they captured a moment that you don't see very often, which is maybe this is Tony Gwynn striking out. So
it might be called out on strikes. Yeah, that never happened. Except for it does look like the umpire is looking to the right. Maybe he's ready to call a strike to. But yeah, that is actually neat photo of Gwen. I'll agree with you. These cards, Chris, remind me of a school bus.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
And, they look like a school bus with the lines and the yellow, and it's just. I'm right there with you. In my notes, I said the yellow border sinks these cards. Bad decision by Fleer. Perhaps their worst decision ever. that's how I wrote it. And it is. I just like getting like the yellow borders. Like, what were you thinking? If these were white, and like. The other thing is the white borders wouldn't have saved this either. The font is so boring. Like, it's so bad that they're yellow, but when you look at the font, it couldn't be more boring. Everything about it is boring. The only thing that looks cool on here is the Fleer logo. And you know how much I hate logos.
Right.
But it actually works. Like, the Fleer logo works here. But my gosh, this to me is the gold medal winner for ugly.
Yeah, and you bring up the logo. Honestly, I don't like the logo either because it almost looks like, for those of you who went to high school and college in the 90s, sometimes we would write up papers and went, oh, that doesn't work. We'd go to a photocopy machine and basically tape in a new section of paper and then run a copy off of it. That's what it looks like. It looks like they cut that Fleer 91 logo out of something else and like taped it on the thing and then put it on a copy machine and went, yep, that's it right there. That's what they did.
Let's run it.
Yeah, they also struck out on rookie cards that year. No Bagwell, no Pudge Rodriguez, no Mike Mussina. And Chipper Jones, those 3 cards came out in the update. No Chipper Jones card until 1992. So Fleer missed the boat on rookies. But there is one reason to buy these 1991 Fleer cards if you really want to go down, nostalgia lane and want to open some of these things. You could find one cool thing, and that's these cards.
Oh yeah,
these are awesome, beyond cool. They came out with these things, and the 1992 ones are even better. But these Pro Vision cards, Fleer Pro Vision, 1991, 1992. That's the Ruben Sierra with the smoke coming off the bat. Mark Flyer with the American flag behind him and that A's jersey. That was those cards were also in those packs.
Right.
It definitely, if you open one of those things, I think you'll be excited about it.
Yeah, those were cool. And those that probably saved the set, right? I mean, if you're pulling those cards, and they went with the black border and yellow writing words, and I mean it's so much better. It's just so much better. Those are great looking cards.
Very good. Let's go to the next set.
This might be the agree to disagree, Chris, and you and I are probably going to laugh because of the inside joke that we can probably share here about the 1988 Donruss. So, am I reading this right? 1988 Donruss, Fleer, and Score all made this list.
Yep.
So 1988 was awful.
Yep. And that was, I would say, really the heart of the junk wax era. And to me, it was kind of the beginning, but I think a lot of people believe it started a few years before this. But this is definitely the heart of it, though.
So this 88 Donruss set, Chris and I, when we got back into the hobby, we found a guy here locally who had, I don't know what the technical term is, but I'm going to call it a shit ton of these cards in blister packs. So they were 4 blister packs, and he was selling a case of them for like $10. $20, even worse.
48 blister packs for $20.
And so, how many did you buy? I know I bought like 2 or 1. I think I bought 1.
Yeah, I think we both bought 1. You opened about 3 of them and then gave the case to me. So I actually still have about a case and a half at my house.
So again, I think this is influencing my thinking. I opened some of those blister packs. I opened them because the glue on the blister packs had worn out because it was 1988 when the glue was put on. And so the blister packs were falling apart. Mm-hmm. And by the time you okay, all right, I'm just going to open these. And then you open these cards. Not only are these ugly, there's nobody in this set, with the exception of your buddy Mark Grace, which I know you like, and there's a Bo Jackson card that you like in this set as well. But the 1988 Donruss set, the blue, black, and red borders, no, they don't go together. None of those colors, it does not, who decided to put black in there? And I mean, I get the red and blue, those cards, that has been done, but then they're like, we're going to throw a little bit of black in there too. And again, there's so much clashing of colors. And, but other than that, I mean, if you take away the border, it kind of sets up pretty nice. You got the name, you got the logo, and not a bad photo, but just for some reason the borders just made this an absolute ugly killer for me.
Yeah, 1988 was a big year for me. That was the year that I was old enough to kind of start having some money in my pocket, and I bought pretty big in 1988. Had a ton of these and had a ton of 88 tops and Score. I mean, this was really kind of my wheelhouse year of collecting, just because I was starting to get some money in my pocket and could go and buy stuff and didn't have to ask mom or dad for money to go do it. So this was a big year for me. And again, this set, yeah, I can get why people don't like it. There wasn't a lot of star power in the rookies. Roberto Alomar in there as well, Tom Glavine.
That's right.
This was the year of Greg Jeffries too, so that was a big deal back then.
Yes, that was a big deal.
Greg Jeffries. But yeah, it's I mean, it's an acquired taste. It's definitely not. I don't know. It just feels kind of like an art exhibit kind of thing. But here's my card.
It is.
This is the Bo card, and
there it is.
And I love this one. Kind of the same reason that we were looking at that Manny Ramirez card. He's got that leg up, about ready to tear into a baseball. The blue jersey, I think, kind of goes with the blue and the border. And this is, I'm gonna get myself a PSA 10 of this card. I don't know why, but I just have a fascination.
No, it's a great looking card. I agree with you. And when we were opening those blister packs, this was the card we were hoping for in good condition. So No, I agree that this is a good looking card. I just don't know why the other cards I just react to them in a negative way. But I know these are near and dear to your heart, and if I gave you 15 minutes, you'd go pull out a blaster or a blister and you'd open it, and it would probably give you a lot of joy.
Yeah, and Matt Noakes cards.
Matt Noakes.
For whatever reason, we have
so
to run
true.
in our case with. It seems like every pack has a Matt Noakes in it. So
yes, the Matt Noakes run.
I wish we had the Bo Jackson run, but we got the Matt Noakes run in those cases, which is not nice. All right,
what we had hoped for.
let's move on. And this one, I think, if it were not for the 1991 yellow set, I think this set would be number one. So I'm calling the 1990 Fleer set number two. It's just a plain, very simple design, sort of like almost like a flag look on the bottom. You've got the name, you've got the position. They do have the logos on the cards, but this was a set, and we've done a lot of videos on the 1990 Fleer basketball set, which clearly these cards came off the same line. You had the same printing problems, the same off-centeredness that you find in the basketball card set. What's interesting, though, is Fleer came out with a football set in 1990, which was clearly made by a different company. The card stock is very different, and they didn't have any of the print issues that you see in the basketball and the football set. But this is definitely a very, very ugly design. Saving grace on this set, though, is quite a list of really kind of top-end rookies. Bounced ahead there, but you got Deion Sanders, you got Juan Gonzalez, John Olerud, Dave Justice, Sammy Sosa, Larry Walker. Just a big list of just rookies, and they're not necessarily guys. I mean, obviously Larry Walker in the Hall of Fame, but the other guys just kind of have interest. They're just guys that people that are fans of those teams remember them and are interested in them. And I think I saw somewhere today that it was like the 33 or 34-year anniversary of Deion Sanders making his debut with the Yankees. He ended up getting a home run that week, and then ended up scoring a touchdown from a punt return the first week playing for the Falcons. So I guess that would be 89, 34 years ago.
Yeah,
that happened. So that's pretty cool. Deion Sanders, what a lot of people don't realize, I guess, is that he did play baseball early in his career, and at that time, him and Bo were both playing in both leagues. And, of course, Bo ended up with that just horrific injury. And then I think Deion Sanders just realized he was a really, really good football player and would be probably an average Major League Baseball player.
Indeed. Yeah. No, that was fun to watch back when he was doing both and Bo was doing both. But, Chris, I'm going to have to tell you, I like this set. I don't know. When you said that this might be your worst looking set, I'm a little bit surprised. Here's what I do like about it. I like the clean lines. I like the edges. I've made myself clear. I like the edges, or at least the borders. I'm sorry. I love the clean look. It looks clean. It looks crisp. I kind of like the fact that, the pictures are kind of go over the border of the picture and it goes into the white. I like the logo. I like kind of the flag. Like I said, I don't see too much wrong with these cards. So I'm interested a little bit more to hear what made you pick this, and not only pick this, but like really dislike it.
Yeah, well, maybe I like the 88 Donruss set. You hate it. So maybe you just like super clean lines, and I call it basic and simple and unimaginative, and you call it clean lines. So, that's the nice thing is we all have our opinions on what we like. The other thing with these cards, and I think I just brought it up, but the centering was horrible on them.
Yes.
And some of the photos on the cards you'd get, they'd just be really washed out and kind of like what we were talking about the 88.
Yes, that is true.
You just kind of get washed out, almost faded looking photos. But to me, I just think it's unimaginative. It's basic. There isn't much to it. It did give us, though, and I showed it really quickly on the screen, Jose Uribe 1990 Fleer card, which is kind of an urban legend behind it that they were using it to launder money. But there was a time where this card was supposedly selling for thousands of dollars on eBay, but because of that urban legend, it often sells for like $2 or $3 on eBay, which, if you can sell commons for $2 or $3, Jose Uribe had a fine enough career. He wasn't a bad baseball player, but certainly not an all-star level caliber baseball player, just around for a while. And you can sell his 1990 Fleer card for, I don't know, $2-3 right now on eBay.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. And I think, the one thing I do like about this card, and this is kind of how my thought process goes as well. We've talked a little bit about the card stock. These cards came out really crisp.
Yeah,
these cards were really crisp and really held up over the long term. And so when I opened these cards back up, when I got back into the hobby, some of these cards, especially that 90 Fleer baseball, which didn't really have much as far as rookies, they held up really well. And I do like the Griffey card from that set. He's kind of looking at the bat, out here like this. And, so there's some there. I like the Fleer baseball set from 1990, but it's not one of those sets where I'm clamoring for more of the cards, right? I don't need any more. I've purchased sets. I think I have a box of them still in there. I've opened them, and I'm just like, I don't need to open them. And I think the thing about Fleer in the late 80s, too, is the back of the cards were very, very, very plain and boring as well. And so you weren't really, when you were opening those cards, you didn't really feel like you were opening anything special.
No, that actually is kind of an interesting thing. And, you and I both kind of bought a bunch of stuff when we got back into this, and we were kind of looking for kind of low cost of entry stuff to get graded to try to kind of turn over. And you and I kind of struck when the iron was hot and did pretty well. And I think there were some people behind us that probably didn't do as well because they just got in a little bit later. But that was a set that you could pick up pretty cheaply and find some cards that had interest with people and do pretty well on them. So if someone's looking for a couple wax boxes of 1990 Fleer baseball, I think I got a stack of those too.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah, and it is. Yeah, there's. And those are going to be fun to open again in a couple of years. There's no reason to open them now. There probably was no reason to open them 2 years ago, but it'll be fun to open them in a couple of years and just have them around, because that is it's a fun rip. It's there's not a lot of pressure to find a card or have the guy. It's just something for cheap entertainment.
Right. And it's something, I remember where I was headed with that now. When you open it, you said not a lot to get excited about. Yeah, they didn't have like the great insert cards. And you look at 2022 Topps this year. You open the pack, even a retail pack, you're going to get mostly your base cards, but you'd still get kind of the stars of the MLB card in every pack, which was kind of cool. And then you get excited, you pull an 87 Topps special out of there. And there's kind of something different in each one of those packs. You look at,
right.
Like Bowman. If you open a pack of Bowman, you're going to get a bunch of the Bowman base cards, but you're going to get 3 Chrome cards too.
Yeah.
And we look at these cards back then, there wasn't a whole lot to really kind of make your heart race when you're opening them. They're all pretty much the same, with the exception of we looked at that 91 Fleer set, those Provision cards. I mean, that was something different that you'd see in the pack. But unfortunately, the base cards in that set were just so ugly it hurt your eyes to look at them. But, again, basic, it was a different era. I think our friend Obi-Wan Kenobi used to say it's a simpler time.
It was a simpler time. And, now we're into the chromanium and prisms and, colored prisms and all that good stuff. And, people who are getting back into the hobby, they look back and again, it was simpler times, and it was obviously cheaper too.
Yeah, we certainly didn't have like 16 different types of prisms or anything like that. Why don't they just tell me in the back what kind of prism that is? It takes me a long time to figure that stuff out, man.
Well, they want you to keep, paying attention to cards and paying attention to the hobby. So if they told you right there, then you would have way more time to, move on to other things, I guess. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. Who knows what card companies are trying to figure out? Who knows what anybody's trying to do right now in the hobby? But I think the advice that we're giving anybody and everybody is whatever you like, go and collect, even if it's one of the 8 sets we talked about today.
Yeah. And another thing to think about, I saw Topps release the 2023 design this week. And it actually is, I think it's pretty cool. So if you've got some time, put that into your Google machine and take a look at those cards, the new design coming out for next year. It definitely is something a little bit different than what they've done. And if you like logos, it's got a nice logo on it.
It does. It does. Well, I'm ready to put a bow on this one. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, let's call it a night. Thanks everybody for watching and listening, and we will see you next time.